Hi, I'm Tori. Welcome to my garden at Wagelli. My garden is 3 acres of flat country garden on a farm. I first moved here and started gardening in 1982, and it was just dead flat paddock, not a thing here. When I was a little girl, I used to walk to school every day through the circle, which is just so beautiful, and I always wanted to live in the middle of the circle. So I have in my garden all the things you have in the circle in Griffith, which are crepe myrtles, cottonwoods, prunus, a chest seat, and I just really wanted not to so much have the best garden or the best roses or anything like that. It's just about having an absolutely beautiful environment to live in, and all I wanted was a place where you felt relaxed and cool in summer. Well, I absolutely love the garden festival every year, and I really look forward to it. It's a fantastic discipline because you walk by something that's not quite right and you think, must fix that before the garden festival. And then when the garden festival comes, it's just such a joy because you meet so many people who really love gardens. To see the pleasure that they get from my garden is really fairly touching. I can't believe it, really. It's a really beautiful time of year. Griffith's buzzing, and I'll really miss it, sadly, but maybe we'll have double the numbers the year after. To me, when you start on the outside and work inwards, you get your sense of scale. So what I did was divide the garden up into different rooms. So where I'm sitting now, I'm looking out at the white rose garden. I have a red garden and a yellow garden and a pink garden. There's nothing fancy in my garden at all. Anyone can grow a garden like this. Everything in my garden's pretty basic because it's flood irrigated. So things your grandmother grew, things that I really disliked in the beginning, but now I know why my grandmother and my mother had them, because they're really easy to grow and they coped with flooding and they coped with drought. Like your crepe myrtles and may bushes and japonica, just all things like that. Roses are also pretty fantastic. Occasionally I get aphids and thrips and things, but I don't worry about them. They come and they go, and as I said earlier, the object is not to have the most beautiful garden, not to have the best roses. It doesn't matter. I don't even care about black spot. It's like age spot when you're 60. It happens all the time. Roses I prune with a chainsaw. I know a lot of people wouldn't approve of that, but it suits me. And they just grow back. They're very forgiving, the rose, very, very forgiving. If I was going to give you a tip if you were starting a new garden, especially a large scale garden, my tip would be to plant your natives all around the outside to create an environment on the inside to block yourself from the hot northerly winds or the westerly winds, and also have 3 layers of plantings. So on the bottom I have things like Melaleuca stiphyloides, prickly paper bark, bottle brushes and things like that, and then all the little birds nest in those. You get finches and zebra finches and blue wrens and things like that because they love all that protection. And then you have the next story of trees, which are things like your wattles and things that are a bit higher, and then your 3rd story of trees, which are your very high trees. So you need the 3 stories of trees to attract all the bird life to your garden. So as a result, this garden is just full of birds. I have quail in the garden, I have blue wrens, I get quorian, I get budgerigars, I get parrots, all different parrots. And then also, because I've done a dam and we live near Marule Creek, we get lots and lots of water birds. So that's really exciting too. My sister lives in Sydney, and she said when she comes to my place and you wake up in the morning, it's like the Sydney Symphony Orchestra of birds. And where she is in Sydney, she says it's like heavy metal music. It's cockatoos and kookaburras and really noisy things. I've been fortunate enough to travel a lot. Italy, just adore the gardens of Italy. They're not perfect, but they're places where you think, Oh wow, what a divine spot to sit on a hot summer's day. So consequently, I have all around my garden lots of different spots where I sit, depending on the light, depending on the time of the year, the time of the day, or indeed what I feel like drinking. So there's spots I drink scotch in, there's spots I drink pots of tea in, there's spots I drink coffee in. It's a beautiful thing to do. My children always want to come home, which is delightful. I think it's all about the garden. My husband, one of his greatest joys is during the garden festival, and people say, "Are you responsible for this?" And he says, "Yep." Nonsense. All the dry stone fences that you see and the dry stone paving, I've done it all myself. I think it's worth investing in some beautiful pieces for your garden. You'll get endless joy out of them. I'm privileged that I can, but if you can, it's a nice thing to strive for. And my pan fountain I'm going to take to the nursing home with me, you know, so I'm going to get my money's worth out of it if it kills me. Now what I tried to do here is, you see how I've got the steps going up and the May walk? That's because I wanted to create the illusion of a change of level. So I think it works. Tell me what you think. So then you come up into this garden, which you don't really know is here, and come round the steps. And then I think you have more of a sense of occasion as you enter into this garden. So this is the pan garden, and he's going with me to the old folks' home. And I'll be going earlier because of my back, because of all the gardening. But anyway, so then you come around this little windy path and you come into the yellow rose garden. So these are yellow freesia floribundas, and I have amongst them irises, blue iris and yellow iris. Over here, this is my sump pump. My husband said, "No, you can't plant anything on the sump pump." Nonsense, Lawrence, nonsense. Of course we can. So we put this vinca in, and if we ever have to access the sump pump, you just rip it away, and then within 3 days it's growing back. Here I've done a dry stone walkway because I couldn't get anything to grow there. So the garden's sort of linked up with a stone theme. Okay, this is the view from my kitchen window. So I look out to my Monet dam, which really is not as pretentious as it sounds. It's a dam that I use for watering. And then you come through here to my chain sculpture, which I call Irony, because it's made of iron. I just like to think, wow, a ship's anchor chain, where's it been, what's it seen, what fish has it seen, what ports, has it done the Caribbean, things like that. And then it was used to clear land. So it's ironic that something that destroyed so many trees and so much land has come to rest in a white trunk forest. Now I told you that in the circle there was a chess table. So I made a chess seat. So there's the chessboard, and I have made a secret compartment in this rock seat, which I'm not going to tell you about or show you because it won't be a secret anymore. And that is where I keep my scotch. Cheers. And I call it Scotch on the Rocks. And now we come into the pink garden, and it's just all hybrid teas, reds, pinks, whites, just all mixed roses and irises, and in the spring there's all daffodils come up around it. The rose in the middle is called Bloomfield Courage. It only flowers the once. It is the most amazing deep red. It's absolutely beautiful. And here we have, at this time of year, you have wisteria out, pink crabapple, or over there you have the pink ornamental peach, planted simply because my mother had one and because it reminds you of the blossoms she used to make at school out of pink tissue paper. I think they're divine. Over the tank stand is Rosa Lavigata, the Cherokee rose. It has that huge white flower with yellow stamens in the middle, and I love it because it's evergreen and the leaf is a beautiful bright limey green. On the downside, it's thorny. It's really thorny. This rock is absolutely fabulous, and it was a gift to me from the Kissel family. Mrs. Kissel was one of Griffith's great gardeners, and this was in her garden, and the family's given it to me, and I just love it. It is just absolutely superb. It's a really beautiful thing. I love guinea fowl. I have guinea fowl that wander through the garden, and I bought those too. They won't run away from me. They're not as noisy either. So we'll come now down the mulberry walk into the red garden. So these are all weeping mulberries that have a beautiful little red fruit on them. So here we have a hedge of red oleanders, red roses, red pomegranates, red bottle brush. So that's a tour of my garden. I'm sorry you have to see it virtually and I can't do it personally, but I really look forward to seeing you all next year. Stay safe.